Shivaya.
Om Sada Shiva Samarambham
Samaranbham
Acharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam
Asmadacharyaparyantam
Devi
Guru Paramparam
Om
Om
Sahanavavatu
Sahanavavatu
Sahanao
Sahanau
Bhunaktu
Bhunaktu
Sahaviryam Yambavahai
Sahaviryam
Tejasvinavadhitamastu Mavidvishavahai Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Okay, I just mute you all. No, I won't mute you all. We need to chant first. So we were on the 5th verse. We had not completed. So let's chant that again. Uddharet Atmanatmanam
Atmanatmanam
Atmanam Avasadayet
Atmanam Avasadaye
Atmaiva Yatmano Bandhu
Atmaivatmano Bandhuhu
Atmaiva Ripuratmanaha.
Atmaivaripratmanaha.
So we saw the meaning last time that one should lift oneself by oneself and one should not destroy oneself by oneself, because the self alone is the friend and the self alone is the enemy. So that's very bare translation. And we talked about the fact that Krishna is introducing the idea of free will, and we had a little discussion on free will and faith. Now, therefore, Krishna is saying that, hey Arjuna, you should understand that you have a free will, but there is a prarabdha karma also, and depending upon how it works, which is stronger, and that will be the one which succeeds. So sometimes the free will can be strong enough to manage the prarabdha. Sometimes it can be strong enough to eliminate the prarabdha. Sometimes it is not strong enough to either manage or eliminate. And therefore, you have to take the impact. So, hey Arjuna, you should understand this, the interplay of these forces, and you should take charge of your life. So, what is the first step? You have a set of instruments to go through this life. What are they? Your body, your mind, your jnanendriyani, your karmendriyani, all this you have got. You've got your mind also, which is a very, very important instrument. And the mind is capable of having healthy, noble emotions. It is also capable of having depressed emotions. The healthy ones can uplift you. The negative ones can bring you down. So in the 5th verse, if you are seeing, Krishna is using the word Atma not as Satchidatma, but referring to the body, mind, sense complex. So Uddharet Atmanatmanam. It's basically first you take charge of your instruments, integrate your personality, refine your personality. So here what do you mean by refinement? Your body should be refined. Every organ should be healthy. You should be physically, mentally, and psychologically healthy. Emotional health should be there. Emotional maturity should be there. And not only that, I should have the discrimination, the intellectual clarity about what I want to do with my life, in my life. Now, the problem here is that if I have to refine my instruments, which are basically my body, mind, and sense organs, what is the problem? You have to ask which is that which is to be refined and which is the tool with which I will refine, right? The problem here is that what is to be refined is also the tool with which you refine. And therefore, Krishna is telling us to integrate or refine the body with the help of the body, refine my mind with the help of the mind itself, and refine my intellect with the help of the intellect itself. Therefore, you should refine your instruments with the help of those very instruments. So Shankara comments here, Atma. He comments on the word Atma. He says, you are the Jivatma, and this Jivatma is the one who is being thrown here and there in the ocean of Prarabdha. The waves of Prarabdha are lifting you and throwing you down also. So you go down and you go up. And what is the problem with this? You are neither alive nor you are dead. If you go down and drown, I mean, the problem is over, but that doesn't happen because the wave brings you back up. And therefore, you are a Jivatma floating miserably on the oceans of the waves of Prarabdha, on the waves of the ocean of Prarabdha. So he says, Atmanam Uddharet. Lift yourself by yourself. And how do you do it? The blessing of the Shastram is important. The blessing of Ishvara is important. The blessing of the teacher is important. All these are very necessary to be there. Your Guru is essential. Ishvara and his teaching through Shastram is essential. But remember, the one who actually has to do the refining is yourself. The others can only help you do so. So what is meant by Uddharet? Shankara says Uddharet here means the process of converting Jnanam to Jnananishtha. Very, very beautiful definition. That process, I have got Jnanam through Shravanam. I have got Nishchaya Jnanam, that is Samshaya Rahita Jnanam through Mananam. And yet, I have got problems because I have got all sort of habitual thinking patterns, samskaras I have got, vasanas I have got, which keep me from getting the benefit of the jnanam. Remember that I am already a jnani. The only problem is I am not getting that benefit of the jnana. Right? It's like having bought some strawberry ice cream and some problem prevents you from tasting that ice cream. That you have to remove that problem if you can taste the ice cream. That samskaras, that habitual thinking patterns have to be removed. That process of removal of that habitual thinking patterns through Nididhyasanam, that is what Shankara says, is conversion of Jnanam to Jnananishtha. Which means what? Problems are not going to go away, right? Problems are going to be there, but I am going to see all those problems. I am going to ensure that in my vision, all these problems are mithya alone. So he says, na atmanam avasadayet. So here again, atmanam is reflexive pronoun referring to yourself, or your instruments in this case. So never weaken your body, mind, sense complex, your indriyas, your intellect, your mind, your body. These are our instruments. Never weaken them with unhealthy habits. So any weakening is done by negativity. It's not done by you. And therefore, never bring yourself down. Never be very critical. Never be having a low self-image. Always be optimistic. Never be pessimistic. This is the crux of what he is saying. What is required in the spiritual path? Confidence is required, and your own self-effort is required. Of course, these two things, your effort and confidence, is there not just on the spiritual path, for any project, and much more so on the spiritual path. So your mind should be quiet. It should not be a moody mind, free from moods. So don't be mooda, be free from moods. And Shankara gives another beautiful definition for na atmanam avasadayet. What did we say it was? We said, never weaken your instruments by unhealthy habits. Shankara says that don't bring yourself down from Paramatma to Jivatma. That should be the meaning of Na Atmanam Avasadayet. You are Paramatma. Why do you want to come down to Jivatma status and be miserable? After all, the poor teacher has done a lot of hard work over several years, raising you from your Jivatma to Paramatma. The moment class is over, don't go back, wear your chappals and go back to Jivatma status. The next is Atmaiva Hyatmano Bandhu. Atma eva hi Atmanaha Bandhu. Your own instruments, body, mind, sense, intellect, etc., they are your best friend. So you are the athlete. The running has to be done by you. All the others, your teacher, the Shastram, and Ishvara also, they are only incidental contributors in your success. They train you, advise you, motivate you, they cheer you on. But everything has to be finally done by you. So, Bandhuhu, remember that Bandhuhu is a true friend. And a relatives are not bandhus actually, though they are called bandhus, they are bandhas. They are obstacles for your special projects. So Shankara puts very bluntly over here, Anya kaschit bandhu nasti. You have absolutely no friend apart from your own self. Don't look to family members, don't look to friends, don't look to parents, don't look to siblings, don't look to spouses. No family member will actively help you in your spiritual path. In fact, by providing obstacles in the form of ragadvesha, they will only be bandhas. They will be your obstacles. Then, atmaeva ripuratmanaha. Though you are your own friend, improperly handled, you can also be your own enemy. So when you are your friend, the whole world is your friend. When you are the enemy, the whole world is the enemy. And speaking from the point of view of Vedanta, actually, no one can be your enemy. Why? Because Sarvam Brahman, everything is Brahman alone. How can anybody else be there? There is no second person to be your enemy. And therefore, if you are considering somebody as your enemy, remember you are not considering yourself as Brahman. The moment you forget Brahman, there are enemies. And therefore, you can be your own enemy with an improper understanding. If you remember Bhajagovindam, Shatro Mitraya Putre Bandhau Makuru Yatnam Vigraha Sandhau Sarvasminnapi Pasyatmanam Sarvatro Swaja Bheda Jnanam. What does it say? Don't waste your energy to fight Shatru or Mitre or to make a friend or to have a child, Putre or Bandho relatives. Yatna ma karu yatna. Don't waste your time making these efforts. What should you do? Sarvasmin api pasyatmanam. See that Brahman everywhere. Sarvatrot sruja bheda jnanam. You find that bheda jnanam, that bheda ajnanam, that difference, the sense of division, which is born out of ignorance, sarvatra sujaha. You discard it everywhere. You should immediately discard any sense of difference. Which is to say that you should understand yourself as Brahman. Once you know that you are Brahman, you also automatically know that everybody else is Brahman. Where is the question of having a friend or an enemy? So, of course, we have to add here that until you come to Nididhyasanam, you are in triangular format, right? Jiva, Jagat, Ishvara format. And in this Jiva, Jagat, Ishvara format, what happens? You have support. There are so many people. Your friends are there, your teachers are there, your relatives are there, everybody is there. Your co-students are there. So in the Jiva, Jagat, Ishvara triangular format, you have lots of support. In fact, even for Shravanam, the majority of the work is done by your teacher. For Mananam, you have support in the form of teacher and your friends. But when you come to Nidhi Dhyasanam, you are moving from triangular format, Jiva Jagat Ishvara format, to binary format. What is the binary format? Atma, Anatma. And when you come to that binary format, you will find that the support system is no longer there. But only you are there. And therefore, when you come to Nidhi Dhyasanam, the support system is withdrawn, it disappears, which means you have to draw strength and inspiration only from yourself. If you try to go outside that format to seek help, what are you doing? You are moving back to triangular format. And therefore, in Nidhi Dhyasanam, there is nobody to help you. You can only draw inspiration from yourself. The strength has to come from Jnanam only. What is the work that you do in Nidhi Dhyasanam? It is the change from Jnanam to Jnana Nishtha. That is what he says over here. You can only do it yourself. There are no friends, there are no enemies. But if at all you want to strengthen yourself, you can use only your own body, mind, sense complex. Nobody else is going to be of any help to you. Okay. Now we look at the next verse, which we will chat. Verse number 6. I'll just unmute you all. Okay. Bandhuratmatmanastasya
बन्धुरात्मनस्तस्य
येनात्मैवात्मना जितः
येनात्मैवात्मनाजितः
अनात्मनस्तु शत्रुत्वे
अनात्मनस्तु शत्रुत्वे
वर्तेतात्मैव शत्रुवत्
वर्तेतात्मैव शत्रुवत्.
Okay. So first let's look at the word meanings. So you break that up into Bandhuhu, Atma, Atmanaha, Tasya. Okay, that is the breakup of the first compound word. Bandhuhu, Atma, Atmanaha. The two Atmas. Atma and Atmanaha and Tasya. 4 words. Then second word, Yenatmaivatmana. Yena Atma Eva Atmana. Again 4 words. Yena Atma Eva Atma. And the last one is Jitaha. So Bandhuhu Atma Atmanaha Tasya Yena Atma Eva Atmana Jitaha. That's the first line. The second line is Atmanaha Tu. Atmanaha Tu Shatrutve Vartate Atma Eva Shatruvate. Anathvanaha Tu Shatrutve Vartate Atma Eva Shatruvate. And you can rearrange the whole thing in prose form, in the Anvaya form. Yena Atmana Eva Atma Jitaha, comma. Yena Atmana Eva Atma Jitaha, comma. Tasya Atma Atmanaha Bandhuhu, full stop. So that's the first line. Yena Atmana Eva Atma Jitaha, comma. Tasya Atma Atmanaha Bandhuhu, full stop. Anatmanaha Tu Atma Eva Shatruvat Shatrutve Vartate. Okay. Now let's look at what it says. Yena atmana eva atma jitaha. Yena, by whom? Atmana eva, by yourself. Atma jitaha. So yena atma jitaha, the one whose body, mind, sense complex has been mastered. Atmana eva, by itself or by himself or by that body, mind, sense complex itself. So that person who has mastered his instruments, by using those instruments, tasya atmanaha bandhu. Tasya, for that person, atma, the self, atmanaha bandhu, is a friend of the self. To anatmanaha, whereas, but for the person anatmanaha. So this is to be carefully understood. Here anatmana is anatmanaha. You have to connect it to atmana earlier, which means the person who has mastered. So anatmana means the one who has not mastered. It is not anatman. Okay, it's not the body, mind, sense complex. So I'll explain that a bit later. So tu anatmanaha, for the person who has not mastered himself, atma eva, the body, mind, sense complex itself, shatruvat vartate, shatrutve vartate, would remain like an enemy, and shatruvat means like an external enemy. Okay, so we are trying to understand kim lakshana atmanah bandhu va ripuhu. Shankara writes this comment in the beginning of this verse. Kim lakshana atmanah bandhu va ripuhu. What are the conditions under which Jivatma can be a friend and Jivatma can be an enemy? I'll request you once again, please don't unmute yourself. You are disturbing the class. So, what are the conditions under which Jivatma can be a friend and Jivatma can be an enemy? I'll just mute you all without option to unmute. Okay. Any instrument, remember, can be friend and enemy, right? So, for example, if it is an LPG cylinder, properly used, it can, provide you the energy for heating and cooking. But improperly used, it can blow up and kill you. Or electricity also, properly used, it can give you light, it can give you the fan, the AC. Improperly used, it can kill you. So any instrument is good only if you know how to manage it. So managing the instrument, if that knowledge is there, the instrument is my friend. But if I don't know how to use it, it can harm me. Or if I use it for harming others, then it is an enemy. And therefore Krishna says, Bandhuhu Atma Atmanaha Tasya Ena Atma Eva Atmana Jita. Tasya Atmanaha, for that Jivatma, Atma Bandhuhu, that Jivatma himself is a friend. What is the condition? Yena Atmanaha Atma Eva Jitaha. By, for that person whose Atma has been mastered by Atma, who has mastered his body, mind, sense complex by the body, mind, sense complex. Why do you say Atma is body, mind, sense complex? Because of the context. But of course, we have Shankara also who comments very specifically saying that Atma is equal to Karya Karana Sanghataha. In the Karya Karana Sangata, very often he uses this term. Remember that Karyam is the product and Karanam is the cause. So when he says that, which is the Karyam and which is the Karanam? Body, mind, sense complex. He says Karya Karana Sangata, which basically means the Karana, cause and effect complex. When he says that, how should you understand?
So here, does it mean the Karana, the instrument, the mind?
Karana it is, not Karana.
Okay.
Karya Karana Sangata. Anybody? Actually, it's very obvious, but then, you need to be...
What you do for what purpose?
No, we are talking about the body-mind-sense complex. That body-mind-sense complex is being called Karya Karana Sangata. Why is it called
So
Karya
how
Karana
you
Sangata?
use your body,
No.
mind, sense
I'm
complex?
trying to get the definition. How does the definition Karya Karana Sangata fit in with the body-mind complex?
Because the body-mind complex does the karma and the karma is the result for the same.
No. What is the cause?
Because it is consciousness which enlivens the body-mind complex and hence is
No,
responsible
look at the
for
words. Whenever you analyze Shastram, you have to always look at the words. There are two words. Sangataha means complex or a compilation of. Compilation of what? Karanam and Karyam. Cause and effect. What does it mean?
OC plus RM.
Which is the cause and which is the effect? Okay. Karanam, the Karyam is obviously the physical body. Sthula Shariram. What is the Karanam?
Karan Sharira.
Sthula Shariram.
Sukshma Sharira. Sukshma Sharira.
Tattva is to be remembered at all times. First comes Karana Shariram, then comes Sukshma Shariram, then comes Sthula Shariram. And therefore, for Sukshma Shariram, Maya or Karana Shariram is the cause. For Sthula Shariram, obviously, Sukshma Shariram has to be the cause. I keep saying, you have to remember Tattva. So, the Karya Karana Sangata is nothing but Sukshma Shariram, Sthula Sharira complex, which means the physical body, the subtle body complex, which automatically includes your causal body because causal body is there together with the Sukshma Sharira. Assemblage is Sangataha. Okay. So what? Jitaha. Jita means mastered, brought under control. So this is just common sense which we know, being specifically pointed out by Krishna. He says a knife can harm you depending on the mastery of the usage. And therefore your four koshas which are there, the karmendriyas, jnanendriyas, antakarnaha, you put all the instruments together, how many are there?
24.
Please count for me.
5 Karmendriya, 5
Yes.
5 Jnanendriya,
Correct.
4 Manchit Buddhi Ahankara,
For antakarna.
Antakarna. I'm forgetting 5 more.
5 pranas.
Panch Prana.
Panch Prana, yes. Panch Prana. And
Okay.
Ansh.
And?
Prana, Mana Buddhi.
No. Once you have karmendriya, jnanendriya, everything is antakarna. When you said mana buddhi, everything is already
हो
covered.
गया, हाँ वो तो हो गया, पंच प्राणा भी हो गया, एक पंच क्या अभी तो कल ही तो सुना था मैंने.
5 tanmatras.
5 tanmatras.
Tanmatras and all, where do they come in over here? They've already been, your panchikaranam has taken place already. You are confusing between Sankhya 24 elements and here. No, you have to be very clear about what you are thinking about. The whole problem is Sankhya has talked about 24 elements and the number 24 has cropped into your mind. It is not.
No?
Okay, so let me go ahead. So these four koshas basically, which consists of 14 instruments, which you already enumerated. Okay, karmendriyas, jnanendriyas, anantakarnaha. Pancha pranas are not there. Why?
Part of Karmendriya and Jnanendriya. They make the Karmendriya function.
Panchakarna pranas are not included here. Okay, why? I'll discuss slightly later. So right now, when we say this body mind complex, this Atma over here, it's only these 14 in the instruments. 5 karmendriyas, 5 jnanendriyas, and 4 parts of antakaranam. Remember, it's only 14, not 19. Okay. Why that not 19? We'll discuss slightly later. So he's saying that when this body mind sense complex, when these 14 instruments are under your control means what? I have the capacity to direct and make it do what I want. And if they are in a state where I can make them do what I want instead of them making me dance around, they will become supporting factors for me. Where? In Nididhyasanam. And therefore, whenever you get up from Nididhyasanam with an unsatisfied feeling, saying that, my Nididhyasanam was not good today. When that feeling comes, immediately chant this verse and remember what it means. It means that one of these 14 factors was not under your control. Okay. Right. Now we look at the first word of the second line. It says anatmanastu. Anatmanahatu. So tu is on the other hand, but on the other hand, and now is the very important understanding. What does this anatma mean? Does it make sense in this anatmana chaturutve? What does it mean? How does it make sense? It doesn't
The
make
one who
sense.
not mastered his body mind sense complex.
How are you arriving at that word? How are you arriving at that interpretation from anatma? Tu anatmanaha means literal translation, but anatma.
Means it's not Atma, is not conquered self.
No. So let me, for example, let's take a English sentence, What is that? Eat food for hunger. That sentence is capable of 2 interpretations. What are they?
One is eat if you are hungry, and the other one is eat to remain hungry.
Sorry, come again.
You can say that
I'm saying, look at the words exactly. Eat food for hunger. Interpret English.
Eat food for your hunger and eat food to be hungry, for hunger.
Right. So those are 2 interpretations. One is eat food to be hungry, and one is eat food to fulfill your hunger.
To satisfy hunger.
Satisfy hunger. Right. So it's a peculiar construction which requires the insertion of another word in that sentence, so that sentence becomes clear. Now, in this sentence, what should you insert? Take food for hunger. What should you insert to make it appear, to give it the correct meaning?
To satisfy hunger.
Take food to satisfy hunger. That you should insert, right? So this is got a peculiar name. And Sanskrit is quite common in grammar. It's called Madhyama Pada Lopa Samasaha. You have to break the word and insert another word in the middle. Okay. Then only it makes sense. So here you have to take anatmanaha. You have to break it in the middle and you have to insert the word jita. So anatmanaha becomes ajitatmanaha. When you insert the word jit in the middle, you have to break the word. You break the word. That's what lopa means, cutting. You break the word and then you insert the word jita. So anatmana becomes ajit atmanaha. So that is the breakup of the word. And ajit atmanaha means the one who has not mastered his body, mind, sense complex. So that is how the meaning comes. The meaning that you mentioned was correct, but this is how the meaning comes. It cannot come from the word anatmanaha. It has to come by applying this madhyama pada lopa samasa and cutting the word into a and atmanaha, inserting the word jita in the middle, and it becomes ajit atmanaha, the one who has not mastered his own body-mind complex. And then you read the rest. Atma eva satruvat vartate. For him, his own body-mind complex remains vartate, remains like Shatruvat, like an external enemy. So when the real enemy is within you, handling is going to be very difficult. And therefore, the real victory is what? Victory over myself. And we should remember this whenever there is the context of Nidhi Dhyasanam. That is what he's saying. In Nidhi Dhyasanam, there is only one enemy and one friend. You cannot seek external help. You need not fear external enemy. The enemy is only one of these 14 sense organs. Okay. Any question? Again and again, I repeat, it is not sufficient to sit in class and listen to this. You have to go over
Revise.
it again and again and again until it's driven into your head.
So when we say anatmana, then is it also that atma becomes like anatma?
I just gave you the meaning. Don't put any more meanings into it. The meaning which I gave you is from Shankaracharya Bhashyam. So don't, we should never give it our own meanings because we are not competent to do that. We take Shankara's meaning and stick with it.
So, Raviji, you said Panchaprana is not included
Not yet.
in.
Yeah, not
So,
included.
we're still not reached why?
We'll come to that. Okay, we'll come to that. Okay, so now we look at the verse number 7. So we will chant verse number 7.
Acharya, can I say for the Panchaprana, why we not include? Can
Okay,
I try it?
go ahead, Rashmiji.
Because that's a physiological function which is not under our control, voluntary control.
That is one reason, yes.
That's what I could understand.
Okay. That's one reason. You can't use your prana to, be your enemy. I mean, prana is neither enemy nor your friend. So anyway, we'll come to a more detailed explanation later.
Raviji, I thought of that, but then I also thought Hatha Yoga, the whole point is mastery over even prana.
Prana.
So,
yeah. So that's one way of looking at it, but there's a better, more elaborate description slightly later. So we'll come to that. Now-
Raviji,
Yeah.
sorry, Acharya. I also felt this is about the pranamaya kosha, but I've often seen myself fail in this situation, failing from pranamaya kosha during Nididhyasanam. So I was also wondering what is.
I don't understand what is meant by failing from pranamaya kosha. If your
in-
pranamaya kosha fails, you are dead.
Yeah, in the sense, no, to control. I mean to say controlling pranamaya kosha, controlling from the
Nididhyasanam has no control over breath, okay? Nididhyasanam is essentially only your thinking process. It is not
Yes.
pranayama at all.
Yes, but is it not related, Acharya?
No.
No.
Pranamaya kosha, pranayama helps you to control the breath, which helps you to control your mind. But that is all part of your sadhana before you have come to Shravanam, because without that control of the mind, where are you going to come to Shravanam at all? So we are all talking about people who are already adapted all this. They have mastered pranamaya, they have mastered the art of concentration, they have understood, they have contemplated, and now they have got that the knowledge, that the unbroken knowledge, the definite knowledge that they are Brahman, but they are still troubled by their vasanas. That is the person who is
Yes.
for the discussion.
And what about prarabdha, Acharya? Like, of course, because your life will give you situations, these prarabdha situations will come.
We are in
And
the Atma field, Shweta. We are not talking about Anatma at all. You
Yes.
have whatever problems are with Anatma, those are the problems which you have to address. But Nididhyasanam is not about Anatma at all. Nididhyasanam about the fact that I am trying to understand that I am Atma. Assimilate that I am Atma. So I don't dwell too much on Anatma at all.
That's the mistake.
Yeah,
Okay.
so
Thank you, Acharya.
remember that when we talk about these things, you should be very careful what is the subject under discussion, because Vedanta is such a huge subject.
Huge, yeah.
From beginning to end, there are so many things. So we should be careful on which part we are looking at.
Thank you, Acharya.
All right, so let's look at the 7th verse we'll chant. Chitatmana prashantasya
चित्तात्मनः
paramatma samahitaha
परमात्मसमाहितः
शीतोष्ण सुख दुःखेषु
शीतोष्णसुखदुःखेषु
तथा मानापमानयोः.
तथा मानापमानयोः.
Okay, so first let's look at the verse. Jitatmanaha prashantasya paramatma samahitaha शीतः उष्णः सुखः दुःखेषु तथा मानः अपमानः योः. Full stop. So we put it into your Anvaya format. Shita Ushna Sukha Dukkheshu. That is one set. Shita Ushna Sukha Dukkheshu Tatha Mana Apamanayoho Jita Atmanaha Prashantasya Atma Param Samahita. Okay. So, Shita Ushna Sukha Dukkheshu Tatha Mana Apamanayoho Jita Atmanaha Prashantasya Atma Param Samahitaha. Param in the sense of Adhikam, extremely. So, Shita Ushnaha in situations of cold and heat, Sukha Dukkheshu in situations of pleasure and pain, Tatha as well as Mana Apamana Yoho in situations of respect and disrespect, Jita Atmanaha for the one, for that person whose body, mind, sense complex has been mastered, Jita Atmanaha, and Prashantasya Atma, and the one who is clear, Atma Param Samahitaha, is his mind, Atma is the mind, is completely composed. So for the man who has mastered himself and who is calm, tranquil, that Atma is evident. And such a person, for that person, he is the same in heat and cold, pleasure and pain, as well as in honor and dishonor. So Jita Atmanaha, that is the first word we look at. Jita Atmana is the person for whom the Karya Karana Sanghataha, that is the Sthula Sukshma Shariram body complex, has been mastered. And we said 14 instruments and not 19, which obviously excluded the Panchapranas. Okay, now why have we excluded? Because Shankara says that Panchapranas are not transacting instruments, they are only maintenance stuff. They are not involved in any transaction at all, but it is because of them that transaction takes place. So they are the maintenance people. Okay, they keep the other 14 operational, but they by themselves cannot transact. They can transact, you cannot even say they transact, but because of them the other 14 instruments are transacting. That is why it is excluded. Veda? Does it answer your question?
Yes, I understood.
Okay, now this is just not a statement. Okay, there are 2 full sutras in Brahma Sutra. That is, it's in the 4th pada of the 2nd chapter. 2 full sutras where Shankara gives a long discussion. You know, when we come to that, we'll see. How can somebody talk non-stop about these things? Shankara does it. With very extremely long discussion. At the end of all that, he comes to the conclusion. He shows us that Panchapranas cannot transact. They can only be there. In their presence, sanidhimatrena, in their presence, the other 14 instruments transact. And since you are talking about enemy and friend, you have to exclude non-transactional items out of the list, and therefore only 14 and not 90. Such a person has integrated himself, and Krishna calls it Jitatma, the one who has learned the art of self-discipline. And because he has learned to keep his body-mind complex under control, therefore only Prashantasya. The more control I have over my body-mind sense complex, or these 14 organs, the more calm my life is. The more my mind is relaxed, the more my mind has low FIR, free from violent fluctuations. Such a person is free from stress, free from strain, of course, free from being an extrovert, and such a mind is called Prashantaha. Simply put, in Tattvabodha terms, sadhana chatushtaya sampannaha, or as we say, jnana yogyata is there. Remember, this person is not liberated, but he is ready for liberation, right? So, I don't know, we have said before that Vedantic students have 3 types of, intellect. So, one intellect is like a banana stem. What is the problem with a banana stem?
It does not catch fire with effort.
It does not catch fire, right? So, banana stem, that intellect is banana stem. So, is a mandha adhikari. Then one intellect is like coal. What is the difference between coal and banana stem?
The coal will catch fire with effort if you put effort.
Coal will catch fire with effort. Banana stem will not catch fire even after prolonged effort. So this is a madhyama adhikari. You have to work a lot on that fellow. The third is like camphor. You show the flame and it catches fire. So we are just saying that we are not passing any aspersions on you guys. All of you all are camphor type brains. Okay, so don't worry about it. And therefore Krishna says, Paramatma samahitaha. For such a prepared student, Paramatma samahitaha, extremely evident. In what manner? I am the Jiva. And therefore, Shravana matrena jnanam bhavati. For the camphor type student, even as Shravanam takes place, jnanam is born. For such a person, recognizing the reality is very, very easy, because he can make use of the scriptures to his advantage. And if you can appropriately approach the scriptures, then knowing Atma becomes very, very easy. While it's possible only if you go according to the scriptural teaching. And therefore, the Upanishads point out that Atma is to be understood through Shravanam alone, which means your waking state of mind. Atma does not require you to go to any superconscious state of mind. Upanishads do not say that you have to become the third state of mind, which is called superconscious state of mind, to be able to understand Atma. Atma can be understood only in the conscious mind, only in the waking mind. Atma is the consciousness principle. That's a different matter. It's available all states of mind. Atma is available in your waking state. Atma is available in your dream state. Atma is available in Sushupti Avastha. Atma is available in Samadhi Avastha. And therefore, Atma is available all the time. As what? In the form of consciousness alone. What is the problem? We focus on the thoughts of the mind. The changing aspect of the mind is thoughts. But that same mind has a changeless aspect also. And that is the changeless consciousness. So even now, as I am talking and you are listening, there are 2 things happening in your mind. As the words fall on your ears, those words generate thoughts in your mind. The thoughts are variable. Obviously, they have to be variable because each word has to generate a different thought. You can't have just one thought. The mind is frozen and you won't get any knowledge. So as I speak, each word falls on your ears and different thoughts are generated. That thought is what is giving you the knowledge. But in and through those thoughts, now these changing thoughts you recognize because the knowledge is there. But what we don't recognize is in and through those variable and changing thoughts, there is that one non-variable presence, a constant presence, a constant principle, which is the consciousness principle. And therefore, Atma is the recognition of that consciousness principle, which is possible when you are in the Jagrata Avastha, in your conscious state. You don't have to go to any mysterious state of super consciousness to recognize this consciousness. You cannot. That consciousness can be recognized only in the ordinary Jagrata Avastha, in your waking state. How? By turning your attention away from the thoughts in your mind to the substratum of those thoughts, which is the unchanging consciousness. It is like I show you my hand, and I ask you, what do you see? And you say, you see my hand. And then I say, no, there's something else. And what is that? It is the light which is there, which is showing you my hand. The light is the reason why you are seeing the hand. But most people, when asked, what do you see? They see only the object. They don't see that because of which the object is seen. Therefore, in this understanding of the Atma, you are not experiencing anything new, but you are turning your attention to something which is experienced all the time, but usually we don't pay attention. It is not that it is not experienced. It is usually ignored because it is not perceptible. Vedanta is therefore not revealing any new Atma to you, but is turning our attention to the already ever-evident consciousness, which is the Atma. At present, what happens? Your attention is on the thoughts which are occurring in the mind. Desires, anger, jealousy, all sort of thoughts are there in the mind. And my attention is usually always on those thoughts. That is why the mind constantly chatters. The constant chattering of the mind, they say, that those are the thoughts, because those thoughts occupy your attention, because they are very much evident to you. When you consciously sit, turn your attention away from those thoughts and see what is the substratum of those thoughts because of which I am aware of those thoughts. It's like turning your eyes away from my hand and you are trying to understand what is it because of which your hand is seen. The light. It is that simple as that. And this is the sadhana, changing the attention from the changing thoughts to the changeless consciousness which is always there. Changing thoughts you experience, but you are also experiencing the changeless consciousness. Only thing is, I pay attention to what changes and not to what is changeless. And therefore, by turning my attention away from what is changing to what is changeless, I am able to be conscious of the consciousness. And this turning of the attention is possible only when the mind is introverted and relaxed. An extroverted mind cannot focus on the changeless. Extroverted mind always focuses on what is changing, what are the anxieties, what is for tomorrow. And therefore, to get this relaxed mind, to get relaxation requires a lot of effort. So get the relaxed mind, a lot of effort is required. First of all, you should engage in Shravanam. For that itself, your mind should be quiet and relaxed. An extroverted mind cannot listen at all. So every thought in your mind, behind every thought, there is the consciousness. This I have to understand. that consciousness does not require any special state of mind. It does not require any special meditation. It is available in and through every single experience that you have. Experience means thought. So that consciousness, that Atma, is available in and through every single thought that I have. And that is why Krishna says, Samahitaha. Samahitaha means very, very clearly evident. And this recognition of the Atma has to be done in two different stages. The first stage is to turn my attention from the changing thoughts, from the changing disturbances in my mind, to that changeless consciousness, because both are present in the mind. The changing thoughts are there, and the consciousness which is changeless, because of which I am able to recognize those changing thoughts, that is also there in the mind. Therefore, the first stage is turn my attention away from the changing thoughts to the changeless consciousness. Then there is the most important shift. I have to claim that changeless conscious principle I am. I am that changeless consciousness principle, which is Brahman or Atman. I claim, and by claiming that, I am also claiming that the body-mind sense complex is an incidental instrument which is being used by me. It's a huge shift and the most important shift. And Nididhyasanam is meant for this particular new orientation alone. What is your new biodata? Sthula Sukshma Karana Sharirat Vyatiriktaha Panchakosha Atitaha Avastatraya Sakshi Achidananda Swarupa Yat Tishtati Saha Atma. Okay. This is owning up my real nature. And what is the benefit? Shitoshta Sukha Dukkheshu. Favorable conditions, unfavorable conditions, they will not shake me. Manapamana yoho, manam apamanam, honor and dishonor will not shake me. Jnanam gives me immunity against all this. And Anandagiri adds in his commentary, Sama Bhavet. In all the situations, he maintains samatvam. He has a very, very low FIR towards any situation, any person, any object, any event in his life will not disturb his FIR. So with this, we'll stop for the day. Any questions? I'll be happy to answer.
Raviji?
Yeah.
So Pancha Prana, you said they are not transacting and the other four transacting. Can I just clarify, transact with what? The outside world?
You cannot use Panchmana to do any transaction at all. That's what it means. With the outside world, obviously. Inside, they are moving. They are basically, involuntary instruments, excepting, as you said, during pranayama, I can control. But they don't do anything by way of helping you to engage with the outside world. For that, only those 14 organs are there.
Okay.
You're not convinced. I can see the doubtful, okay.
Yeah. I'll think of
Does it mean no independent karma independently, no action independently?
Obviously, Panchaprana can't do any action. But you can always take the stand that without Panchaprana, no action can be done. That is what is confusing Meda. Yes, brother?
no, anyway, they're all not, we cannot call them independent. They're all like connected to each other only. But no, I'm saying, okay, I understand how Karmendriya and Jnanendriya are directly interacting with the world, but actually even the Antakarana is not directly interacting. It is interacting through the Karmendriya, Jnanendriya only.
But there are thoughts forming, no? Decisions are being taken based on those inputs. Panchaprana doesn't do that.
So it's involuntary action all the time, whether they are engaged in action or
That is
not.
what Rashmiji said.
I think that makes more sense to people like us.
Right now, I think that's enough of a understanding. When we get to Brahma Sutras, you'll have Shankara's arguments.
But I don't fully agree that they are totally involuntary. They're partially or largely
In normal
involuntary.
transactions, prana is involuntary. Like, for example, when you're sleeping, right? When you're running, you don't decide the prana should flow faster, because it flows because the body requires it. Only in the case of pranayama can you influence prana to some degree, but also by controlling the breathing.
Right.
So to that extent only, there's a difference. That is why they don't transact. You can utilize it, but utilizing prana, you are unable to utilize prana directly for anything, right? All it can do is to support the organs.
I think I got the answer when you said sleep, because 14 components are resolved in sleep, but
In
not
sleep.
the prana.
And Panchakosha is, the pranayama kosha is never resolved. It's completely involuntary. To that extent.
Yeah, so those 14 are only transacting. Now I get it.
Correct. Okay, so with this, we'll close for the day. Thank you for your patience. Om Namah Shivaya. Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnam Eva Vasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.
Thank
Om
you,
Tat Sat.
Ravi.
Om Namah
Thank
Shivaya.
you.
Thank you for your
Om
patience.
Namah Shivaya.
Thank you.